Good morning Year 8 and welcome to today's maths lesson. Let's start us off with a quick starter. Can you please convert 20% to a fraction? Can you work out 326 divided by 5? And then can you tell me what's the area of a circle with the radius of 5 centimetres? Please leave your answer in terms of pi. Pause the video for a couple of minutes and have a go at those questions in your light blue book. Okay, let's go through the answers. So 20% means 20 out of 100. As we know, percent means out of 100. I can then simplify that to 2 out of 10. I can simplify that further by dividing by 2 to give me 1/5. The second question, I'm going to do a little bit of bus stop. I put a 5 on the outside and I put 326 underneath my bus stop. 5s into 3 goes 0, remainder 3. 5s into 32 goes what, Bradley? 6, lovely. 2 remainder. How many 5s in 26, James Cork? 5, lovely. And I've got 1 remainder this time, so it goes here. How many 5s are there in 10 for me, Mia? 2, lovely. So my answer is 65.2. And for my last question, I asked what's the area of a circle with radius 5? My formula for area is pi r squared. My radius is 5, so my area is going to be pi times 5 squared. And Jake, what's 5 squared? 25, lovely. So my area of this circle is 25 pi and my unit is centimetres squared. Okay, this is where we're headed for today. These kinds of questions that you might get in an exam, working out percentages of a quantity. But to start us off, in your dark blue books, can you give me the title Bar Modelling Percentages, please? And then when you've got that, pens down and eyes on the board. Okay, so if this bar here, on the left-hand side, represents 100%, I need to draw a bar underneath it to show 25%. Now I can get 4 lots of 25 into 100, so I can split my bar into 4 pieces and each of those parts is now worth 25%. If I want to find 1%, there's 100 lots of 1s in 100%. So I'd need to split my bar into 100 little sections, etc. And each of those little sections is worth 1%. In your dark blue books, can you copy down this bar diagram and tell me what each of these smaller bars is worth in terms of percentage if the top bar is worth 100%? Pause the video in your dark blue books, copy this diagram out now, please. And remember to fill it in. Okay, let's go through the answers. So if I split the bar into 2, if that first bar is worth 100%, each of those little parts is going to be worth 50%. If I split it into 4, just as above, each of those parts is going to be worth 25%. If I split it into 5, Violet, what are each of those parts going to be worth? 20, lovely. And finally, Theo, if I split that bar into 10 pieces, how much is each of those parts going to be worth? 10, lovely. So hopefully in your dark blue books you should have something that looks a little bit like this. Got 10 lots of 10% in there. Please pause the video and make sure you've got that correct in your dark blue books now. Okay, we're going to use this bar to work out a percentage of an amount. So we said the big bar was worth 100, and if I split that into 10 little pieces, each of those is going to be worth 10%. So if my big bar is worth 150 and I want to work out what 10% is, I need to divide it by 10, which will tell me each of these little parts is worth 15. and the little parts total up to give me my whole above. So 10% of 150 is going to be 15. Okay, you know how this works. I'm going to do an example and then you're going to do an example in your dark blue books. If I want to find 30% of 150, the first thing I've done is I've split my bar into 10 pieces, as each of these will represent 10%, and each part is worth 15. However, I don't want 10% this time, I want 30%. And 30% is 3 times 10%. So I need 3 of these little parts. 1, 2, 3. 15 plus 15 plus 15 means that 30% is equal to 45. Over to you. In your dark blue books, pause the video for a minute and complete this one for me. Okay, let's go through the answer. So if I split it into 10, each of these parts is going to be worth 35 this time. 35 all the way along. And again, I'm looking for 30%. 30% is 3 times 10%. So I need 3 of these little boxes. Three of these little boxes will add up to 30%, which is 35 times 3, which will give me 105. Please make sure you've got this correct in your dark blue book now. Please pause the video for 5 minutes or so, and in your light blue book, can you work out 10% of 40, 30% of 40, 20% of 40, etc, etc. This should only take you about 5 minutes. Pause the video now. Okay, these are the answers I was looking for. Please pause the video and check how you did. Okay, so we worked out 10% and multiples of 10%. Now we're going to work out some other percentages. If I've got 400 and that's 100%, if I want to work out 25%, from our bar model we did earlier, we know that 25% is just dividing that 100% into 4 pieces. So I need to divide 400 into 4 pieces, and each of those parts is going to be worth 100. So 25% of 400 is 100. If I wanted to find 1%, I need 100 little pieces within my 100% bar, and each of those little pieces is going to be worth what, Demi? 4, because we've done 400 divided by 100 to give us 1%. Fab. Please pause the video, and in your dark blue book, can you fill in what each of these parts in this bar model is going to be? For example, the first one shows me 50%. I've divided 350 by 2 to find 50%, so each of these parts is going to be worth 150. Please pause the video and complete that now for me. Okay, let's go through some answers. So for the 25%, which is this section here, we should have 75 in each of these bars. 75 and 75. The one below it is showing us 20% because we've divided the 100 by 5. And inside this one, I need to divide 300 by 5, which should look like 60, 60, 60, and 60. And finally, this row shows me my 10%. And 10% of 300, dividing it by 10, gives me 30. Alicia, what's 1% of 300 therefore going to be? If 300 is 100%, what's 1% going to be? Cool, 1% is going to be 3, dividing by 100. So we can now find 50%, 25%, 10%, 20%, and 1%. But what if we want to work out some trickier ones like 2%, 20% we just worked out, and 35%. Well, we can combine up some of the percentages we already know how to work out. So 2% is just going to be 2 times 1%. We could work out 20% as just 2 times 10%. And we could work out 35% as just 10% plus 25%. In your light blue books, using 1%, 10%, 25% and 50%, can you work out how to make 3%, 5%, 15%, 30%, 67% and 150%? There's multiple ways of doing this. Pause the video for a few minutes and think of as many ways as you can to make each of these percentages. Okay, here are the answers that I came up with. I can make 3% from 3 times 1%. 5% could be 5 times 1%, or I could do 10% divided by 2. 15%, I could do 10% plus 5 times 1%, or I could do 25% take away 10%, etc, etc, etc. So in your dark blue books, can I have the title percentage of amount? And then pens down, I'll go through an example and then you can have a go in your dark blue book. So my first example is, can I work out 5% of 60? The first thing I'm going to do is work out what 10% of 60 is. Now to work out 10%, I just divide 60 by 10, so 10% is going to be 6. Then to work out 5%, I can just take my 10% and divide it by 2. So 5% of 60 is going to be 3. Slightly trickier example, how could I find 105% of 120? Well, I know that 100% of 120 is just 120. I know that 10% of 120 is just dividing it by 10, so that gives me 12. And I know that 5% is therefore 6. So 105% is just 120 plus 6, which gives me 126. Over to you. In your dark blue books, pause the video and spend a couple of minutes working these two out for me. Do that now. Okay, let's go through some answers. 5% of 20, well, we know that 10% is just dividing it by 10. So 10% would give me 2. So 5%, I just divide it by 2 again. 5% would be 1. This one was a bit trickier. 95% of 120. Well, I know that 100% is 120. That's nice and easy. I know that 10% is going to be 12. I know that 5% is going to be 6. So I can just do 100% take away 5%, which is 120 take away 6, which gives me 114. Over to you. In your light blue books, can you please pause the video and spend 10 minutes or so on these questions? Do that now. Okay, these are the answers I was looking for. Please check how you did and mark your answers. Okay, back into our dark blue books, please. I'm going to do an example and then you're going to do an example. My example is work out 2% of 60. The first thing I'm going to do is work out what 10% is. 10% would be 6. So to work out 1%, I need to divide by 10 again, so that's going to give me 0.6. 2% is just 2 times 1%, which is 2 times 0.6, which gives me 1.2. Underneath, I'm working out 12% of 120. Well, I know that 10% is 12. I know that 1%, dividing it by 10 again, gives me 1.2. So 12% is just going to be 10% plus 1% plus 1%, which equals 12 plus 1.2 plus 1.2, which gives me 14.4. Cool. Over to you. Please pause the video and have a go at these two questions for me. Pause the video now and in your dark blue books complete these two questions. Okay, let's go through some answers. Let's work out what 10% of 20 would be. 10% is 2. 1% is going to be 0.2. So 2% is going to be 0.4. Underneath, I need to work out 32% of 120. 10% is going to be 12. 30% is therefore going to be 3 times that, which is 36. 1% is 1.2. 2% is therefore 2.4. And let's put that together. I need 30% plus 2%, which gives me 38.4. And there you have it. In your light blue books, please pause the video for 10 minutes or so and have a go at these 10 questions. Pause the video now. And these are the answers. Please check how you did. And finally, pause the video and can you work these out now? This was our lesson destination that I gave you at the beginning of the lesson. Pause the video, these are exam questions, complete in your light blue book. Okay, let's go through some answers. So 80% of 300, I know that 10% of 300 is going to be 30. So 80% is just 8 times 30, which gives me what, Bradley? 240, lovely. 21% of 56, well, let's see, 10% would give me 5.6. So 20%, building it up, would give me what, Alicia? 11.2, lovely. 1% is going to be 0.56. So let's add that up. I've got 11.2 plus 0.56, which gives me 11.76. The next one, I said Andrew is paid £850 a month. Each month he spends 60% and saves the rest. What can you work out? Well, we can work out how much he spends as 10% is 85. So 60% is just 85 multiplied by 6, which gives me 510. So that's how much he spends. He saves the rest, so that's 850 take away 510, which gives me a what, Logan? 340, lovely. So that's how much he saves. I didn't give you the question. The question was, how many months will it take him to save 1,700? So I need to know how many months it will take if he saves 340 a month to get to 1,700. That will be 5 months, because 340 times by 5 would give me 1,700. And finally, 40 is a percentage of 10. This is a tricky one. So 100% of 10 is 10. 200% of 10 is therefore 20. 400% 400% of 10 is 40. So the answer you were looking for was 400%. Well done if you got that right. Thank you very much. Please now end the lesson and have a go at the exit ticket posted on Google Classroom. Thanks very much, guys. Have a good day.